Recording is on.
So, welcome to Global International Pedagogical Forum IPM 2020, which I'm representing now. My name is Natalie, and today my guest is Professor Vittorio Colizzi, who is a professor of immunology of University of Rome Tor Vergata, director of the UNESCO Chair of Biotechnology and Bioethics, and as well as a coordinator of the Tor Vergata COVID-19 Joint Lab. We are really thankful to have you here and thankful that you accept our request to participate in our video interview and to answer our questions. First of all, although the COVID-19 spread all over the world and there are lots of sources about it, but still there are some debatable questions that we want to ask you today. So first of all, what do you think? Does COVID-19 really exist?
Sorry, just can you repeat the answer because it was completely blocked before? So you're asking if COVID-19 exists?
Yeah, sure.
Yes.
My first question is whether the COVID-19 really exists in the world.
Yes, yes, exists. Is the disease, we know the pathogenesis and the etiological virus which is responsible for the disease. So the disease exists.
Thank you for your answer. But then what do you think? Is COVID-19 just an ordinary flu like the way we had before, or it's something different and more serious?
It's more serious because the percentage of death people is great, but it's like another flu, which more strong pathogenesis and death percentage.
Okay, but then why is it considered to be so dangerous? What is the main comparison with other flus? What do you think?
Because it's causing a very strong pulmonitis, deep pulmonitis with a very strong immunopathogenesis, which normally flu is just interested in the higher part of the air pathway, so it's much more dangerous.
Okay, thank you for your answer. And what are your suggestions regarding the virus, like how to deal with the COVID-19 and what to do with the pandemic overall?
For the COVID, to deal with the disease, we need much more research. We need to identify a more effective drug. We need to produce vaccine. We need to, in some way, to be much more ready for viral pulmonitis. But dealing with epidemics need much more organization, and maybe also in terms of new way of isolation of people that in Europe we don't know. But for example, in Africa, we deal with other disease. So it means that it's a little bit new for us as European. But so this is also the reason by which there is a lot of concern, because we have to start something like social isolation that we was not doing before.
So you mentioned the social isolation as a way to deal with COVID-19. So you know that lots of countries currently are doing the quarantine, are using the self-isolation of people. So do you think, are these methods that were used till now effective?
At the moment, waiting for a very effective drug and vaccine, the only way to contrast the diffusion and the penetration of the virus in our society is just isolation.
Okay, got it. And regarding the vaccine, I think it's already obvious that the drug that needs to be found is not a usual one and it's specific for this case. So what is your projection? When will it be found?
I'm pretty sure that will be found. A lot of drug company are working on this, and with a lot of bioinformatics, artificial intelligence, virtual screening, and other technology, I'm pretty sure that we can identify shortly a very good drug, and also vaccine. So I'm pretty sure that in 1-2 year time, we can just have a much better therapeuticals for this kind of virus.
That's interesting, actually, your projection. And regarding the fact that in China now the way they are dealing is very effective, and for example, the Wuhan is open, and they are kind of going into the way of recovery. So, what do you think? Will the U.S., Europe, and the rest of the world, besides China, follow the same way and recover in the near future?
I want to say that China demonstrated a very strong capacity to react to this virus. They was able to produce immediately good diagnostics using the sequence that they publish. This is not the same in most parts of Europe. So I want to say that the central organization of China allow to control the epidemics much better than liberally, I want to say, European Union.
Oh, got it. So you think that currently China is dealing with this issue better than the rest of the world? Did I get you correctly?
I think yes, also in terms of scientific production, also in terms of industrial production specific for COVID. So most of the people are using rapid tests for serology from China. So it means that a part of the isolation and measure taken by China, they make a lot of effort to have a good product, at least at the diagnostic level. And they make a lot of clinical trials. So I want to say that China is the leadership at the moment, not only because it was the first country involved in the disease, where the virus born in some way, jumping from the animals to humans, but also because they was able to put at work a lot of scientists, a lot of researchers, which are involved in not only in treatment, but also in industrial development.
And regarding China, on January 2020, some virologists from Wuhan University warned about coronavirus pandemic and released into the world a fully defined pathogen genome so that everyone could, as quickly as possible, develop kits for researching this issue around the world. So has anyone dealt with it? Is it familiar to you, this fact?
No, yes, we know exactly. This is the difference. Why after the sequence, China immediately start a very good industrial production in terms of diagnostic, molecular and immunological diagnostics, specific for this virus based on the sequence that has been published. I want to say that not similar has been done in Europe, also because Europe until the end of February was not concerning. People are thinking that there was something born and blocked in China. Just at the end of January and maybe at the beginning of the February, we realized that the virus is moving also to Europe. And nobody was thinking that it's moving in such a very strong way.
Got it, thank you.
So this is the reason by which I believe my conviction is that China really make a good job.
Thank you for your answer. And moving a bit to the projections. So how many people actually got sick? Because the numbers are not always that accurate. And besides that, I wanted to ask whether you have any projection, like how many people will get sick until the end of this pandemic?
But we follow the number of deaths, the number of infected people by the WHO database. So what we have is, of course, each country has its database, and we are in Italy, for example, more than 30,000 people which die, and so that it's depend. At the moment, the number, the percentage based on serological analysis is not more than 10% of the people has been infected, with a mortality of 7%, at least in Europe. So it means that is higher than flu, but the percentage of people serologically positive, it means infected but without symptom, are less than 10%. It's not very big, very large diffusion.
True. And you mentioned the situation in the Italy by numbers. So I would like to ask, like, overall, what do you think about Italy and the situation there right now?
But now it's decreasing. Now we are just finishing the lockdown, so people can move everywhere. We have still some part of Italy in the north part, in northwest part, which is still under a little bit of infection. But I want to say that all the rest of the countries, they have, each region have 2-3 cases, so it's really nothing, maybe less than flu at the moment.
So that's really good news to the world to share. And regarding the COVID-19 generally, so currently we know lots of facts that are fluctuating in the internet in different sources, like what is the average incubation period of the virus, what are the risk groups. We know that asymptotic carriers can infect other people. So what important fact regarding the COVID-19 would you add to the list for people to know?
But I just want to point out that this COVID-19 is a viral infection, and virus is an interaction between living organism, the virus and the human body. So it's very difficult to fix the real exact time of
incubation period.
Incubation, because but we know that incubation is between 1-2 weeks. But so to fix the real time is not a mechanistic organism. So you have to accept that there is difference between one organism to the other. And also the symptomatology, there is a lot of people which doesn't express the symptoms, other which express very, very hard symptoms. The characteristics of this COVID-19 in comparison to flu is that only aged people are mainly affected. For example, young people are very, very few affected by the COVID-19 virus in comparison to influenza, where children are very, very susceptible. So there is the difference in the age of the patients, and then the symptomatology links to the age is very important.
So you mentioned that there are some people that are not experiencing any symptoms of coronavirus.
Absolutely. Most of them. I want to say that most of the people are not experiencing any symptoms, but they in some moment can also infect other people. That is the most important things. But I want to say that this is also frequent in other infection.
Not only coronavirus.
Not only coronavirus. I want to say that most of the infection, for most of the time, is asymptomatic. All, I want to say, the infection, a very large period of asymptomatic.
And for these cases, when there are no symptoms overall, usually what is implemented is the self-isolation of 14 days or more. So do you think this is efficient to deal with the virus if there are no symptoms?
Yes, normally this is the mean time, but as I said before, it depends. Each case may be a little bit different, but the mean time of is 14 days. But you can have somebody that after 16 days is still releasing virus. So also the time of recovering is uncertain, depending from an individual to another.
Okay. And from the perspective of the countries, I think all know that lots of countries are implementing the quarantine regime, where all the borders are closed and people are rarely go out, only with some prescriptions or some other stuff. So do you think this is efficient, or it's better not to have any quarantine and leave everything open?
But it depends of the country of provenience. At the moment, with the decreasing of the number, at least for Italy, we have just to do quarantine maybe in the northwest of Italy, but not in all other regions. So really depend of the epidemiology. In some way, with COVID, we are much more restricted. For example, we stop everything in Africa, all flight, although the cases in Africa are not extremely high in comparison to China or to Europe and the United States. So I want to say there is a lot of social and political concern which make much attention on this disease, which in comparison to others.
So you mentioned the political concern as well. So what I wanted to ask, is COVID-19 only just a virus and influence the health of people, or also it has a political and economic side?
Surely, pandemic like this bring interest in political, economic, and social aspects. So it's normal. If you remember, the HIV/AIDS was the same in the last century or 2 centuries ago was tuberculosis. So it's normal when you have pandemics. It's not only a medical concern, but it becomes also a political, economical concern.
So just changing a bit the topic to the more healthcare part, what about the immunity? Does the immunity develop after the virus? Because currently I feel there is no exact answer regarding this situation. And if so, if immunity developed after the virus, how long can this immunity protect people?
Yes, as you say, we have to differentiate immunity and protection. Immunity is just the immune response to the virus. And like other viruses, we are able to develop a very strong immune response at the level of antibody, natural immunity, and acquired T-cell immunity. The problem arises in terms of protections. So to be protective, the immune system has to produce specific neutralizing antibodies, specific neutralizing cytotoxic T cells, which are able to control viral replication. So we still don't know this. We know that there is antibody production, so what we call immunity. We don't know how much is long this production, considering that the infection started 3 or 4 months ago. So normally we don't know if this immunity will be present at the high level of antibody for 6 months, 8 months, for 2 years. But most important, we don't know how much neutralizing and cytotoxic T cells are present in subject after in the recovery phase, and how much they will stay present with efficiency to block the virus. We have not this information.
So what do you think? Is it still possible to get the COVID-19 after getting it once? So re-getting it?
But normally, most of the infection, this is not possible, at least in the next 2-3 years. So there is a long-lasting immune response. Sometimes for all life, sometimes for 3 or 4 years. So still we don't know for COVID. In principle, I'm expecting that people are protected, at least for the new or for the second wave of the epidemics, if we begin in November or December. I hope that most of the people that has been already infected will be protected.
That's an interesting point, actually, about the second wave. Thank you for that. Also, there is a thought that when the summer comes and the weather gets hotter, then the virus will decline. What do you think about this? Do you agree or disagree?
In principle, I agree, not only for the problem of temperature, but of the problem that people are living when there is the summer with a good weather. People are living outside. There is not more school. people are going to the sea, people are going to the mountain. So there is much more external social activity than non-internal, in which the virus diffuse much better.
Interesting. And another, the almost final question. So basically, China uses a disease monitoring system based on the example of SARS. Is there a monitoring system in other countries that triggers an alarm and forces the country immediately take measures to combat?
Now I think that in some way Europe, but also in the States, in the North America, we was thinking that this kind of epidemics will never appear. So we have no alert system. We have a very good alert system for terrorism, but not for disease like infectious disease. This is different in Africa, for example, in which all countries have a very good alert disease, especially for Ebola virus and other very dangerous viruses.
So do you think will we create this kind of system in the future after facing this kind of pandemic?
I'm pretty sure yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that especially the European WHO Center for Disease Control in Europe have to develop this kind of alert system.
Interesting. And what will be your suggestions to people overall, how to protect from the coronavirus?
For the moment, mainly for aged people, is isolation. And also for the adult people, to avoid too much assembly of people, tipo football match, tipo concert, in which in a very few space there is a lot of people exchange a droplet and then virus.
And what do you think, if all the people follow these restrictions, when will this pandemic get over? What is your projection regarding
But
this?
I want to say that in Europe it's going down. So in Italy, that was the first country that interesting after China, South Korea. So in Europe was the first country. Now is completely going down. So we imagine that in another 1 month or 2 months, the situation will be very really like in the beginning. Today or yesterday, we have the same case when the first infection starts. So it means that the curve is completely in collapse.
That's a very good projection. Thank you for that. So these were the all questions that we prepared for you. Do you have anything to add regarding the virus or the questions?
No, I just can point out that one aspect that you don't, fortunately, I congratulate you, you don't pose is about the complotism subject that we lose a lot of time in discussing, especially on the social, about this crazy idea that the virus was created in the lab or was some kind of bioterrorism or economic terrorism. This is really waste of time, and really I congratulate you that you don't pose this question.
Thank you for mentioning that. That was actually an interesting point that we didn't include that question. So these were all the questions that we prepared for you. Thank you very, very much for participating in our video interview today. It was really helpful and insightful, all of your answers. So we wish you a healthy future in these difficult situations and a great career.
Okay, thank you also for you. Be healthy.
Thank you very much.
Bye.